The legacy of Thomas Jefferson in gardening is really quite profound, and at Monticello the gardens over the last 50 years have been restored to their condition during Jefferson's lifetime. The flower gardens were put back in the late 1930s and early 1940s by the Garden Club of Virginia, and they restored the gardens based on driving up at night, and they would shine the headlights of their automobiles across the west lawn. And in so doing, in the evening, they could see the depression of what was once a gravel walk that winded its way around the west lawn. And also, on either side of this winding walk were raised beds where flowering bulbs were still coming up 120 years after Thomas Jefferson died. So they put these gardens back with some real accuracy, particularly considering the era in which it was done. The Grove, which was this 18-acre ornamental forest, an expression of Jefferson's vision of the true American garden. He said, in America we can make gardens without expense. We have only to cut out the superabundant plants. And that was recreated in the late 1970s when I first arrived at Monticello. Then finally the 7-acre vegetable and fruit garden was put back in the late 1970s and early 1980s. Based on Jefferson's rich documentary record, but also years of archaeological excavations that enabled us to restore Jefferson's 1,000-foot-long garden wall after doing excavations of extant sections. We found stains of 79 of the original fruit trees, and were able to actually put the same trees in the exact same place where he had them. We found the footings and the foundation for this garden temple or garden pavilion that was at the halfway point of the 1,000-foot-long garden. Jefferson left really good notes about the actual character of the fruits and vegetables, and one of my roles was to actually retrieve a lot of Jefferson's original varieties from the tennis ball lettuce to the breast of Venus peach, and that was an exciting challenge. Jefferson was in some ways first in food and first in gardening and first in wine in so many different ways. He wrote that no nation is drunken when wine is cheap, and wine is indispensable to my health. He loved the greatest vintages from France and was a great pioneer in early American grape culture. And Jefferson's legacy in food is remarkable. He loved vegetable cuisine, and his daughters and granddaughters left a rich wealth of recipes having to do with vegetable cuisine in the kitchen at Monticello. And then as a gardener, Jefferson was remarkable in introducing American plants into his landscapes and experimenting with this great range of vegetables, and documenting all the different things that he was trying out at Monticello. So Jefferson was first in food and first in gardening and first in wine in so many different ways. Michelle Obama's White House kitchen garden has a discrete section devoted to the legacy of Thomas Jefferson. Alice Waters, sort of the mother of the farm-to-table movement from California, came to Monticello 3.5 years ago and made a black-tie dinner for 300 people on the West Lawn, and she described it as the most important meal that she'd ever made. So the Jefferson legacy is particularly, I think, profound. And at Monticello today, we use gardening as a way to talk more about Thomas Jefferson, to show the different dimensions of his personality. You see the garden scientist on the one hand. On the other hand, you see a romantic dreamer conjuring up grottos and romantic outbuildings throughout the estate at Monticello. One of my roles at Monticello was trying to find the original plants that Jefferson grew, and I wrote some 4 books on Jefferson and gardening, and the latest is one called A Rich Spot of Earth, Thomas Jefferson's Revolutionary Garden at Monticello. And it's published by Yale University Press, and Alice Waters wrote the introduction. And it was sort of my final effort at Monticello after working there for some 35 years. And I found out a lot of new information about Jefferson and had a lot of new insights into Jefferson's gardening adventures at Monticello. At Monticello we have garden tours, we have a seed program, we have a nursery called the Thomas Jefferson Center for Historic Plants. We have a 2-week institute in historic landscape preservation. So education is a very profound part of the program in Monticello today. In September every year we have a Heritage Harvest Festival celebrating Jefferson as America's first foodie, and we have tastings of 200 varieties of heirloom tomatoes and some 200 different educational programs and chef demonstrations and children's programs, and a good time is had by all. We're trying to reach a new market of people interested in things like organic gardening and sustainable agriculture and vegetarian cuisine. And in doing so, I think we're celebrating Jefferson, but also reaching a new audience throughout the country.